Hey all, so in this video we're going to go over the practice AP questions at the end of the utility maximization PowerPoint. So let's get started. So here, to maximize utility, consumer with a fixed budget will purchase quantities of goods so the ratio of marginal utility of each good will equal to what? So remember, one of the rules that we talked about so far with marginal analysis is going to be we want to get to the point where marginal benefit equals marginal cost. But that is only if we're looking at one good. And this question is saying we're looking at multiple goods here. So here, remember, we have our equation that allows us to find out the amount of satisfaction, amount of utility when we're comparing two different goods to each other. Remember, that is the marginal utility of good X over the price of good X equals the marginal utility of good Y over the price of good Y, right? And so this is for multiple goods. And so here we just have to find an answer choice that matches up with our equation. So what is equal to the marginal utility of each good? Well, total utility? No, we don't even talk about total utility, so A is incorrect. B, yet again. C, not necessarily price is the greatest, right? Where price is equal to 1. Well, in our equation, marginal utility of X over price of X equals marginal utility of Y over price of Y. Does the price equal 1? The answer is no. The prices actually have to be equal to each other, right? The marginal utility of good X over the price of good X has to equal the marginal utility of good Y over the price of good Y. And so that's why E is the correct answer here. What about this one? Basically, it's the same question asked in a different way, right? So what this question is saying, which of the following expressions defines consumer equilibrium? And if a consumer purchases two goods, right, and yada, yada, yada. Well, here we know, right? What is our equation again? The marginal utility of X over the price of X equals the marginal utility of Y over the price of Y. So which answer choice matches up with that? The answer is D, so D is the correct answer. So this one was a slightly tricky here. So here, we know it already gives us the marginal utility, right, of both pizza and pens. So we don't need to look at the total utility and calculate marginal utility because it already gives it to us. And so for our number 20, it's asking us what is the ideal combination of pizzas and pens? Well, remember, we can't just look at the marginal utility, right? We can't just say that the student is going to buy pizza first and then pizza again, because we're looking at and comparing two different goods to each other. So what we actually have to do is we actually have to calculate the marginal utility per dollar of both pizzas and pens. And so remember, pizzas cost $2, pens cost a single dollar here. And so here, to find out the marginal utility per dollar for pizza, because we're just going to do that one first, remember, it's just the marginal utility divided by the price. So we're just going to take 20 divided by 2. So for the first unit of pizza, the marginal utility dollar is 10. For the second pizza, you take the marginal utility of the second pizza, 18, divided by the price, $2 again. So for the second unit of pizza, it's 9. The marginal utility per dollar for the second slice is 9. And then so on and so on, right? 16 divided by 2 is 8. 14 divided by 2 is 7. 12 divided by 2 is 6. 5, 4.5, and 4. Well, now we have to look at the other side with the marginal utility for pens. Well, this should be pretty simple, right? Why? Well, because the price of a pen is just a single dollar. So if they already give us the marginal utility and we're just dividing it by 1, it's just going to be the same thing. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And so now we can answer the question, right? This question is asking, what is the ideal combination of pizzas and pens here? If, right, we have $10 to spend. And so remember, pizzas cost $2 and a pen costs a single dollar. Well, looking at a marginal utility per dollar, which object or which good are we going to consume first? Well, we're going to consume the first slice of pizza. Why? Well, because we gain the most amount of satisfaction. Per dollar, we're getting 10 units of satisfaction for that first slice, and that's higher than anything else on the board, right? So now we spent $2. Well, what are we going to consume next? Well, we are going to consume that next slice of pizza, right? Because 9 is still greater than 8. So now we spent $4. What are we going to consume next? Well, we're probably going to consume that third slice and then probably that next pen. So how much money have we spent right now? Well, here, right, we spent 2, 4, 6, 7. So we have $3 more left to spend. Well, what are we going to spend next? Well, luckily, the next two margin utility per dollars are the same, right? And so that should add up to $10 there. So what is the ideal combination of pizzas and pens? Well, that is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 pizzas, 1, 2, and 2 pens. So the correct answer should be B. For this next one, so what is the total utility, right, of purchasing 2 units of pizzas and 2 units of pens? Well, yet again, this is pretty simple. They gave us the marginal utility, right? So here, for the first slice of pizza, we are gaining 20 units of satisfaction. Well, for the second slice, we are gaining an additional 18 units of satisfaction. So what is the total utility of consuming 2 slices of pizza? Well, for this, all we need to do is just do 20 plus 18, which gets us to 38, right? We just have to add up the marginal utilities together. So now we have to figure out the total utility for 2 units of pen. So we're just going to do this same thing. We're gaining an additional 8 units from consuming that first unit of pen, and then we're going to consume an additional 7 for that second unit. So now, right, we're adding 8 plus 7, which gets us to 15. And so now we just have to add 13 and 15 together, which gets us to 53. So the correct answer here should be E, 53 utils, or 53 units of satisfaction. All right, so moving on to this FRQ. So this FRQ is pretty, if you understood what we just did on the last slide with questions 20 and 21, this should be pretty simple, but yet again, the explanation, the work is a little bit lengthy. So here, what this question is asking us, it says if apples are $1, oranges are $1, and you spend $7, your entire income on apples and oranges, part A is asking, well, what is the ideal combination of apples and oranges? Okay, so let's work this out. So to make it a little bit easier, because I've been told my handwriting is awful, I made a little chart. So they gave us the total utility for both. Well, here, if we want to find the ideal combination of goods, right, we first have to figure out the marginal utility, and then we eventually have to figure out the marginal utility per dollar. So here, the marginal utility for the first apple is just going to be 0, right? We can't gain additional units of satisfaction if we don't consume anything. Well, once we consume that first apple, how many additional units of satisfaction are we gaining? Well, it's 20, right? So from 0 to 20, from 0 to 1, we are gaining 20 additional units. Well, from that first to the second apple, how many additional units of satisfaction are we gaining? Well, we're gaining 15, right? From consuming 1 apple, we're getting 20 total units of satisfaction. From consuming 2 apples, we're getting 35 total units. So what is that increase? Well, it's 15. And then we just take the same concept, right? From 2 to 3 is 10. From 3 to 4 is 5. And then from 4 to 5 is 2. So now let's do oranges. So the marginal utility of that first orange is 0. Then it's 30. Then it's 20. Then it's 15. Then it's 10, and then it's 5, okay? So now, just pause the video, and then see if you can calculate the marginal utility per dollar. All right, so let's calculate the marginal utility per dollar here. So remember, it's just the marginal utility divided by the price. And luckily for us, dollars cost, or the apples cost a single dollar, right? So to calculate the marginal utility per dollar for the first unit of apple is just 20 divided by 1, which is 20. For this one, it's 15 divided by 1, which is 15. Then it's 10 divided by 1, 5 divided by 1, and 2 divided by 1. Well, for oranges, we have to do slightly more math here, right? But it's still the same concept. Oranges cost $2 each. And remember, it's just marginal utility divided by the price, by the dollar. So 30 divided by 2 is 15. 20 divided by 2 is 10. 15 divided by 2 is 7.5. 10 divided by 2 is 5. And 5 divided by 2 is 2.5. So now that we know our marginal utility per dollar, now we can sort of say, what are we going to buy first and what is the ideal combination of goods? And so remember, right, we are purchasing $7 worth of goods when apples cost $1 and oranges cost $2. So here, what are we going to buy first? Well, here, the first thing that we are doing is that we are going to purchase the first unit of apple. Why? Well, because it gives us 20 units of satisfaction, and that is the highest amount of satisfaction that we get. Number 2, what is the second thing that we are going to purchase? Well, here, we're probably going to purchase the next orange and also the next apple. So how much money have we spent so far? Well, we spent $1, $2, $3, $4. We still have $3 more left to spend. So we're probably going to spend the next one on the second orange and the third apple. So now we have spent $7, right? 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if we're going back, right, what is the ideal combination? Well, it's going to be 3 apples and 2 oranges. And then asks you to explain your reasoning, right? So you're going to actually have to do that with words, but for sake of space, I'm not going to do that. All you would have to do is just sort of explain in words what we just did on this graph here. All right. Part B. Everything is the same, except that your income increases to $12 here. All right. So we know when we have $7, we know we're buying 3 apples and 2 oranges. But what happens if we have $12 here? Well, what are we going to buy first? Well, we're probably going to buy the third orange because 7.5 is greater than 5. So how much money have we spent now? We spent 7 plus $2, so we spent $9 in total. Well, now we need to spend $3 more. So we're going to buy $1 worth of apples and $1 worth of oranges. And so here that brings us to $12. So that is going to be 4 apples and 4 oranges. But this question is also asking us to figure out the total utility, total utility from consuming the new combination here. Remember, total utility, we can either add up just this margin utility altogether, but we already know what the total utility is here. So buying 4 apples, we're buying $50 worth in total utility from buying 4 apples. Buying 4 oranges, it's 75, so we just add 75 to 50, which gets us to 125 total utils, or total utility. All right, so moving on to the last part, and then we'll be done. So let me erase all this. All right, so our last question is saying our income remains at $12, but the price of oranges increases to $4. So what is the ideal combination of apples and oranges, and what is the total utility from consuming that ideal combination here? Right? So apples still remain $1, but the price of oranges is now $4 here. So let's change that. So because of that, right, this changes. Right? Our margin utility per dollar changes now. And now we're heading into some dicey math here, right? So here, right, we first have to do 30 divided by 4, right? Which gets us to 7.5. I'll just type it out instead of writing it because it's easier to see, right? So 7.5. 20 divided by 4 is 5. 15 divided by 4 is 3.25, so 3.75. 10 divided by 4 is 2.5. And 5 divided by 4 is 1.25. So now we can do the same thing, right? How much are we going to spend if we have $12 here, right? Right, let's double check that. Yes, so if we have $12, how much are we going to spend? Well, here, let's check it out. Are we going to buy the first apple? Or sorry, we're going to buy the apple first because it gives the most utility. And buy this, I'm going to buy this, right? This, right? So here, right, what is the ideal combination? Well, we just did that. It should be, yet again, 4 apples and 4 oranges, and the total utility should be 100 total units. All right, guys, so that's it. If you guys have any questions, just feel free to send me an email or to ask during the Google Meet. That's all I have for you guys today. I'll catch you guys in the next one.